Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize a 4-year extension of the contract at the same rate of $12,000 per year with Leo Plenski III for Jefferson Avenue field maintenance.
I have a second. Second by Mr. Peasant.
I'd like to make a comment on that. I would like to do motion 5 before motion 4.
We got a motion on the floor and a second. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
I got a question.
I abstain.
I got a question.
Yeah, Mr. Devine.
A comment. All right. Actually, I have a few comments and I think a couple questions. The first comment is I still believe that the contract for the field should go out to bid. The second thing I want to say is I feel that Mr. Salerno's interpretation of the state statute is not favoring the taxpayer or the public, right? Because anything that's public money needs to go out to bid. And his reasoning that he gave us last meeting, it made it sound like, listen, I'm going to tell all you guys, it doesn't matter what you vote on, as long as you believe me, it's okay, you won't get in trouble, right? I have a problem with that type of reasoning. To me, it sounds like, we're going to do this anyway, you can't get in trouble if you go along with it. But I just want to let you know, it is a state statute. I'm not sure if Mr. Salerno is aware of the amendment that they had with the state statute when it refers any contract back to the state ethics, the state ethics statute. It refers it right back to it. Any contract. So it doesn't matter if it's maintenance, it doesn't matter what contract it is. It refers back. So I just want to let you know, before you vote, just think about it. All right? The next question I have is, why a 4-year extension? Why can't we do a year-to-year with any contract? Why do we got to do a 4-year, $48,000? And at the same time, we're talking about, our police. And I agree, we are tight in the budget, and I'm not going to disagree with Mr. DiGiuseppe that we, need to look at the police and not raise, the amount of money expenditures in the police department, as well as when we talk about the maintenance. If we gotta tell our police officers to suck it up, I think that we could also tell our maintenance guys, listen, we gotta get these fields done. You already cut all the grass. Now all we're asking you to do is maybe, you're gonna rake the dirt and then line the field. And then on the weekends, I'm thinking, I don't want to make this something that's personal, because again, I know the history that goes into those baseball fields and his family and everyone that does it. But the taxpayers come first, right? So if there's something that we could do where the borough workers go there and they could, clean they're going to do the fields during the week, and then maybe we have Leo do it on the weekends, where he's still able to, kind of play a part in the field and that history of his family doing it, but it's not going to cost the taxpayers as much money, right? But the whole thing it goes down to is this. It has to go out to bid. Any public money has to go out to bid. It's our taxpayers' money. And the last thing I want to say is, if anybody up here as a council, right, any council members that believe that voting for this, if you vote for this $48,000 contract, you're basically telling the hard-working residents of the borough that you don't care how they get their money, how they spend their hard-earned money, that you're going to do whatever you want with it, and you don't care how they feel about it. Because I'm going to tell you now, as many people that don't like me or don't agree with the way I am, I haven't had one person come up to me and tell me, you know what, Tony, you're wrong about this. Even people who we are mutually friends with, it has nothing to do with personal issues. They've all said the same thing. And I know, Greg, I don't know if I've had people that we're mutual friends with that contacted you. I don't know if they reached out to you that expressed the same thing, that they agree with what I'm saying. So the thing about it is, it's simple. Now, you had somebody reach out to you or not?
Trying to think of recently, like in the last.
Yeah, within the latest.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, but the thing about it is, it's clear, right? It needs to go out to public bid. That's all I have to say.
I have a comment. As I see it, and let me give you a hypothetical scenario. Tonight, the major pump at the treatment plant breaks. Mr. Dillon receives the call, goes in the action, problem solved. The contractor gives us a $20,000 bill. My reaction, good job, thank you. Same pump, different scenario. Well, our engineers tell Mr. Dillon that they hear a bearing rattling, and from experience, they have 6 or 8 months to replace it. Mr. Dillon does not get 3 bids and give the job to one contractor. My reaction, this was unfair to the other contractors. You cannot give public taxpayer money without obtaining bids, which brings us to the job of maintaining our fields. There's no emergency. We have 9 months, plenty of time for bids. What council is doing is turning the word job into maintenance. With job, you need bids. With maintenance, no bids and unlimited funding with taxpayers' money. I imagine a retiree would love this job. 3 months, good winter, good weather, the energy of the children, getting to see his or her friends, neighbors, parents, and making a little money. I think a retiree would do this job for half the price, and I think we need to bid it out. Thank you.
I would like to say something. First of all, Tony, you are correct. I'm sorry. That was a month and a half ago, if it's the thing that I think you're talking about. And my response to that person was, in fact, that in situations like this, tough situations like this, I tend to rely on the opinion of our solicitor, which is why he's our solicitor. And I'm very comfortable with the recommendation that our solicitor gave in his interpretation of that law. Further, from what I understand, this is a contract that is not going up in value or down in value. This is a contract that's remaining the same for someone that's done an excellent job on the fields for a very long time. Further, in kind of asking Buster what's going on with the T-ball field, part of what I was thinking there is the idea that I think a number of people agree that there needs to be some improvements on the T-ball field. And I think Leo's job is actually going to expand and not contract. So I'm comfortable with it.
Greg, can I answer your question?
No.
Well, I mean,
I no.
why?
Because I'm.
Why you I know, but you gotta speak from your heart, you don't wanna do that. I hear you.
There you got it.
Mr. Salerno wants to comment.
Let me say, I stand by the opinion I expressed last week. It's in the minutes as required by the statute. But I can't sit here and let there be a misrepresentation of the Borough Code and the law, okay? Section 46402D states very clearly, this is the section that has to deal with bidding contracts. Contracts and purchases made by council, which shall not require advertising, bidding, or prose quotations as provided are as follows. Those for maintenance, repairs, and replacements. I have to believe that the legislature did that for a reason, that they don't want all contracts having to go out to bid. Because remember, when you go out to bid, and the lowest bidder you have to award the contract. And when you're talking about a maintenance contract of fields, when you're talking about landscaping, or you're talking about cleaning the building, you want to have the option of choosing who you want, who you feel comfortable with. All right? Now, I also resent the insinuation that I don't know what the law is, okay? Believe it or not, Tony, I do know what I'm doing, all right? Yes, the law says if there's a conflict between the Borough Code and the Ethics Act prevails relating to ethics issues. There's no conflict here. What you're referring to is before the Borough Code was amended 2 years ago, the Borough Code said $1,000 for the contract, and the Ethics Act said $500. And in fact, that came up, and I explained that the Ethics Act prevailed, that the threshold was $500 and not $1,000. There is no conflict here. Nowhere in the Ethics Act does it say anything has to be bid. Okay, and for you to say that all public money needs to be bid is just absolutely untrue. Okay, and I think it's a shame that you have council people misstating the law and misleading the public. All right, so I stick by my opinion. Council can vote as they want. Okay, again, I don't vote. I'm just saying that I think this is an appropriate contract to vote on. Of course, Mr. Plenski's going to abstain because he has a conflict and he knows that. And let's proceed. This is a $12,000 contract we're talking about, and we're spending a lot of time on it.
This is for Mr. Salerno. Mr. Salerno, I know that you get mad when I ask you questions about ordinances or laws. I don't claim to be a lawyer, but what I'm saying is, when I look and I read it, I mean, I'm able to read and comprehend what it's saying. To me, when it refers back to the state ethics, right, the statute of state ethics, it clearly says this is a conflict. It doesn't matter if it's Mr. Plenski, his son, his wife, anybody that deals with him directly.
Where does it say that?
It's
So
a
show me where it
conflict.
says that. Where does it say that? Let's get to the bottom of this, you know? You know, in the future, Mr. President, it'd be a lot easier if Mr. Devine and Mr. Gerard just tell me who the attorney is, and I'll talk to the attorney, so we can deal with this before the meeting.
And I'm gonna tell, and just so you
Why don't
know,
you- wait,
just
wait,
so you
wait.
listen,
Listen, he asked you a question, why don't you show him
I'm
the
talking,
section?
I know, let me talk to Mr. Salerno.
Okay.
Okay, when you say the lawyer that I'm talking about, and I get a chuckle every time you say it, I'm sure my wife does too, because she is my attorney. She's the one who goes on the computer and does the research. So, it's not a lawyer, it's actually my wife that goes and reads the statutes and then gives them to me. And then I read them over and then I agree, because things that don't make sense to me, common sense, to me, there's usually something wrong with them. So, I look into them. Just like any other good counsel person should do. That's the
Not
reality.
everybody's corrupt, I mean.
And then, nobody's saying, I'm not saying everyone's corrupt, all I'm saying is, listen, if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, guess what? It's probably a duck.
So are you saying something's wrong and it's corrupt?
I'm saying it's unethical. Don't
But you're
don't
saying, well,
confuse
tell
the
us
word.
where.
It's unethical.
How is where?
If
I
we
would
were-
like an answer.
All right.
Mr. Salerno asked you a question, why don't you prove it to him?
Mr. Salerno, why don't you finish reading the statute that you stopped reading at the last meeting? You started at the beginning and then you stopped.
Which
If
one?
you could finish reading that.
No, I'm gonna
sure
give
you'll hear
you
it.
the section that you gave me the first half of the sentence, but you didn't give us the second part, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna
but
read it.
you stopped reading it.
No, I'm gonna read the whole thing.
Go ahead.
No public official or public employee or his spouse or child or any business in which the person or his spouse or child is associated shall enter into any contract valued at $500 or more with the government body with which the public official or public employee is associated, or any subcontract valued at $500 or more with any person who has been awarded a contract with the government body with which the public official or public employee is associated.
Okay.
That's where you stop.
So right now, you agree with me at
That's
this
where you
point.
stop.
But you agree with me at this point.
No, I don't agree with anything. That's what, I'm
Okay,
gonna
go ahead.
read further, but that's where you stop.
Okay, now
That's what you
continue.
underline.
Go ahead.
Unless the contract has been awarded through an open and public process, including prior public notice and subsequent public discharge of all proposals considered and contracts awarded. Nowhere does it say in there that it has to go out to public bid.
That's what it just said. That's what I heard. Read that again for me. Because I love the way you interpret it. I love the way you interpret it. Interpret that.
I like those. You're not gonna change our mind.
You don't have to. I know I'm not going to change your mind. But you have to do your own research. I know I'm not going to change your mind. It's already been done.
Aye.
Opposed?
Wait. I want to get a roll call vote, please.
Well, there's six,
I want to get a roll call
there's
vote.
6 yeses.
Okay, let's try it again. I want a roll call vote. I want it on the record. Who voted?
Now we actually voted twice on this.
Well, 6 of us voted yes, so you,
Okay, can I get a roll call vote, Mr. President?
He abstained.
roll call vote.
Thank you.
What is this about?
Mr. Gerard.
Oh,
Mr. Warren.
No.
Mr. President.
yes.
Ms. Mullin.
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Ms. Bell.
Yes.
Mr. President. Mr. Di Giuseppe. Yes, sir. Motion carries 6-2. 5-2-1. Number 5.